Welcome to the Bourbon Friday show, where every week we take a short break, we try a new bourbon, and we meet someone awesome from the St. Louis startup scene. My name's Nick Niehaus, I'm your host, and today I am interviewing Elise Hastings, who is the managing director of Givable. So first of all, welcome to the show, Elise.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
So first thing we obviously want to talk about is just tell us what Givable is and what you guys do.
So Givable is a platform, and what we try to do is we try to incorporate giving into the rhythm of everyone's life.
Okay.
And so our founders are Cultivation Capital, the Steinberg Family Foundation, and the Regional Business Council.
Wow, okay.
And so some diverse partners came together, and they were interested in this problem of how we get people from all different walks of life to incorporate giving into their everyday life, and to prioritize giving back to their local community and prioritizing St. Louis. And so they really came together with this idea, and we built this platform that allows people to every day give to the charity of their choice. And it takes form in an email that's sent into their inbox, and it has a cause, and it could be anything from childcare education or healthcare, and you have two charities that address that cause in slightly different ways, and then you choose the charity of your choice, and you direct as little as 25 cents.
Wow.
And so it's very small micro donations, but then after you give, you can see all those donations tally up, and how all this impact that we can have as a community when we all give together.
Wow.
And so the idea behind it is giving as a community, but also giving frequently, because most people just give once or twice a year. It's an idea of, hey, if we give in our everyday life, how does that affect how we interact with others? How does that affect the good that we do at work, the good that we do with our family? And we really want to make a better society and a more conscious society, so that people really reflect on the things going on, and reflect the things that are going on locally, because those are the things that they can have the most impact in changing.
Absolutely. So number one, the first thing I love about this is that you can be really lazy and still contribute, because you're getting an email every single day. It sounds like it's just a click of a button or two, right? So that's great, because I'm all about being motivated by laziness, right? So that's good. So tell me about, so you get this email, you got the two charities. Are they competing, or tell me what's the logic behind having two different charities that you're receiving an email about?
It's a great question.
Yeah.
And so we thought about this deeply, because originally we're like, oh, we'll just feature one, but the reason for two is that we want to give people a choice, and we want people to interact with it and to really think deeply about the charity that they're giving to. And by nature of having, A or B, you have to read the whole blurb about the charity. Maybe you'll click on the charity's website, go learn more about them. And then when you make that choice, you have more ownership over that choice, and it becomes more exciting. And the fact is that regularly our breakdown is pretty even, and people really give to both charities. And they're learning about these two charities every day. And so even if they don't click on the other charity, they're still learning about the impact it has, and they're more likely to recognize it if they come across it in their daily life. And so that's the idea behind two. And we've seen a lot more interaction because of that, because it's kind of this idea of A or B.
Very cool. Okay. Can you donate to both? Is it like an either or can you go back? Obviously, I'm sure you can give money to whoever you want. But
Right. Well, so we have this thing. So let's just say that you are on vacation, or you just don't get to your email that day. We have a function where either if you want to roll over, you can, and so your money will just roll over. Or you can just have that 50 cents, $1 a day, whatever you choose, split between the two charities. And so in that way, it makes it so, all right, if you don't click on that email, you're still giving, and you're still giving to these organizations. And you can just go back in your email and look at the ones that you didn't give to, and you can still learn about them.
Cool. Okay. So I want to talk a little about the how-to of how this works behind the scenes a little bit, right? Because one thing that stands out to me is 25 cents as a minimum donation. Is that what you said? Right. So I think about credit card fees, and I think like, okay, how to, do you get charged a certain amount per transaction, things like that. So is this something that's tied to your bank account, or are you paying with card, or how does the transaction actually function?
Yeah, great question. So We do not charge you every day. That would be crazy. What we do is we do like a monthly subscription. And so you sign up for $8 a month. So like Hulu Plus, Netflix, other monthly subscriptions that you would sign up for. And then you just billed once a month, but you're giving every day. And so the idea behind it is we just want to make it easy. We don't want to make it difficult. And we are a registered 501c3 organization. We're a nonprofit. And so all of the money that you give, each $8 monthly payment, that's tax deductible. And so we'll give you a tax letter at the end of the year. So it makes it easy. You're still giving, and it's also something that you don't have to think about in terms of payment. It's not like you're writing checks or that sort of thing.
So that makes sense. So you're contributing a certain amount per month, and the email's more about deciding where it goes.
Exactly.
Right? Okay.
Exactly.
Very cool. So, obviously one of the things that sounds very appealing about this is that it is automatic. You still get to be involved in the decision, though, right? So you're still, you're making the education a lot easier. It sounds like, because I don't go out and look up a new nonprofit every day, obviously.
Exactly, and some of these you're not going to find. So let's just say that you go into Google and you search for early childcare education nonprofit or arts nonprofit, and you miss some of these really great organizations that, they might be smaller and they might not have had such a big footprint as some of the larger organizations. But the fact is, they're really doing excellent work, and they might be really honed in on a small community that is benefiting from this work and really relies on it. And so we want to bring attention to maybe these smaller, lesser known organizations that are still doing a fantastic job, like Show Me Arts Academy in North St. Louis. They have this smaller group of kids that they really bring through the arts. They change their lives. They do wonderful work. There's so many organizations like that people just don't know about, and we want to activate, especially the younger generation, to get involved in them, because when we think about what makes our city great, we are actually number 2 most philanthropic city. Wow. So we were number 1 for a while.
I heard number 1 at some point.
We were.
Falling off, huh?
Then Houston just edged their way up. But it's okay. We'll get back to number 1. But the thing about that is that means that philanthropy is what makes St. Louis great. And giving back and investing in our community, investing in making our community better. And so if we're thinking about that, we need to really look at how we activate young professionals in that community.
Sure.
And, young professionals are more likely to stay in a city where they feel connected and they feel like they are making an impact.
Okay.
And so that can be through work, that can be through their family, their jobs, their relationships, but that can really be through giving, and that can be through activating them to participate in a nonprofit and take a leadership role at a nonprofit. And so we really want to make sure that we are honing in on that community, and we're honing on people that weren't prior givers before, that we can really bring those into our fold.
So that kind of reminds me of our conversation last week. We were talking about Arch Grants, and that's one of the missions of Arch Grants is to keep companies here, keep people in town, because there's a tendency for startups to move out of town. Is that part of kind of the mission to Givable? I mean, obviously getting people more involved, but it sounds like they tend to stay here if that's the case. Exactly.
I think there's so many people that just want to feel like they are valuable, and sometimes that can take a big role when you're in a city like St. Louis.
Okay.
And because we have so many nonprofits, they're doing a lot of different things to help make our city better, and so a lot of innovative nonprofits too. We have a lot of the nonprofits that have started here have since branched across the country because the solutions they found to problems are really innovative and are working. And so, we get these young professionals to take board positions, or young professionals to be on a Young Friends board, or even just give to that organization on a frequent basis. They're that much more likely to feel a connection to their city.
Very cool. All right. Mm-hmm. So how do you pick the nonprofits, right? So obviously, how do you decide which ones to match up? And then can anybody just apply to be in these emails, or do they have to go through a process, or what does that look like?
That's a great question. So we have a process where they can go on our website and then just fill out a quick form and apply, but we actually find most of the organizations ourselves, and we try to do it around issues having to do with kind of current current conversation. We try to do it around days of the year. Like, for instance, Amelia Earhart Day was last week.
Okay.
And so it was the day she was born. And so we did a STEM-related organization, an organization that focused on women empowerment. And
cool.
So the idea behind that is, okay, wow, I didn't really know it was Amelia Earhart Day. Maybe I learned some information about Amelia Earhart, because we always feature information about the cause. And then you get to give to 2 organizations and celebrate her legacy. Yeah. And so we do that frequently. We do a lot of things around health awareness, different types of diseases, just all different days. Like, you'll be surprised at how many holidays that just kind of like get swept under the rug.
Oh, yeah.
But then we bring those into the forefront, and
sure.
people can, read about something they didn't know and then give back.
Very cool. This a lot of this sounds like marketing, so that's exciting stuff. I like talking about this. So, all right. So you got your kind of strategy for getting these nonprofits in front of people. Obviously, the mission here is to raise money for them. But
right.
Are there other, do they need volunteers or other ways to contribute? If you maybe, like a lot of startups, don't have a ton of cash on hand at the moment.
Right, for people to get involved with Givable.
Yeah, like for these nonprofits, the other things they're looking for.
Well, I mean, nonprofits, I would say a lot of things they're looking for is for activating a group of people to get involved and to care about their organization. And whether that means like, growing their board, getting a group of volunteers to really volunteer on a frequent basis, because sometimes, people will come in for a day and then they'll move out and then they don't engage again. Okay. And so the idea is to build a relationship with people. And so there's a lot of time nonprofits are looking for that. And so we take that into heart. We actually send out a impact report every month that has information about different events, different volunteer opportunities that go on in St. Louis. And so our hope is that people on a frequent basis are, they're giving to these organizations, but then they're getting involved and they're activating that kind of, both the giving and the activation part is just so important. And like really turning that into action. Cool. All right.
So obviously we've spent most of our time talking about the email, and you mentioned the report you guys do.
Right.
What else does Givable do? You guys involved in anything else in terms of, is there any in-person type stuff that goes on or that kind of stuff?
Yeah, well, so this year, we actually were looking at our impact, and we decided that it was really important to reach out to a younger population. Okay. And so we started bringing this program to schools. Oh, and so we signed up 100 kids at KIPP, and then this summer was 100 kids at AIM High. Cool. And the idea behind bringing kids on is we wanted to give children the agency to learn about giving, and then also to choose nonprofits themselves and to direct the donation themselves. And so we had some donors that were super excited about this idea. And so they are really giving these kids agency to choose their nonprofit every day. And it's just a really amazing way for kids to learn how to give. And so we've also equipped the teachers with some curriculum around how to educate kids about these causes. And so, for instance, when they have something like early child care education or healthcare or a disease, they can really talk about why this is important to know and why it's important to remember this type of information. Sure. And the outcomes have been really amazing. The kids have learned about these charities, and we've gotten people calling back to us, hey, we want to get involved, we want to volunteer, how do we connect with the point person at that organization? Wow. And it's just, kids are still really malleable at this point, and being able to show them a path that's maybe not like, as it's not math, it's not science, but it's really giving and cause related in schools is so important. And some schools just don't have that curriculum. And so I think it's a really great way to build value with kids and to build what types of causes that they care about. And then later on in life, those are the causes that they might be giving a lot to. And so we are building that giving sense early on. Very cool. All right. Yeah. Well, this all sounds awesome. So we got to get to the most important part, which is how do people sign up for this, right? So somebody's out there that, oh, it sounds great. How do I get this email? So do they just go to the website, or what should they do? Very easy. Our website is givable.org. And so that's GIVABLE. There's no extra E in there. Okay, it's good to know that. All right. And you just click join and you sign up, and you can pick your donation amount. So you can do as little, like I said, as little as 25 cents, as much as $1, $2 a day, whatever you feel comfortable with.
That's awesome. Cool.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I think we'll also go ahead and include the link in the comments on the video for anybody watching, so it makes it a little bit easier to get to. So great. So we're going to go ahead and move on to the next segment we got here. We're going to welcome Eric, the founder of Friday himself, also the organizer of Innovate Giving, which is the special event that's going on tonight at T-Rex.
Yeah.
So Eric, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thanks for
Hi, Eric.
Yeah. So tell us, what are we drinking on today?
Sure. So this is Maker's Mark Private Select. And
Okay.
why I brought this is because this event is about innovating philanthropy, basically.
Oh yeah.
So recently, it's been publicized that four women from the nonprofit field and 4 from the corporate sector went down to Maker's Mark and they created their own bourbon. This isn't that,
Okay.
but this is exactly how that would be created. This is Maker's Mark Private Select. So, and what they're doing is they're using that to fundraise. So it's just a new way to fundraise. So they're just going down there, creating this bourbon so they can go out and sell it and fundraise for a bunch of different organizations and things.
Very cool.
Nice.
All right.
I was
This is my
talking
kind of
about that.
fundraising. Then, you know,
Exactly.
I like this version. So I think the last thing that we wanted to talk about today, we have a couple minutes left, is kind of what the theme of the whole night I think is about, which is just how do you get people activated, right? So how do we get more involved in these things, especially things that we maybe have passion about? And one thing you mentioned earlier that I think is really important here is learning about new nonprofits.
Right.
Because there's so many and there's so many niches, and I think a lot of times we feel like, oh, there's the big famous ones and we should just give a chunk of money and we don't even really know what
Right,
they do, versus something that might be a lot closer to home. So
Right.
what are some things that we maybe as a startup community could be doing to get people more involved and specifically in the areas that they're most passionate about? You guys have any ideas?
Yeah, well, I'm actually also on a board of an organization called Launch St. Louis.
Okay.
And so we specifically help build young friends groups for nonprofit organizations. And so these are people in their 20s, their 30s, sometimes their 40s that really just want to feel active and involved. And so we help these people essentially get connected to a nonprofit, and then we also help the nonprofit form these young friends boards, and so they can really activate this younger group of professionals.
Okay.
And so I would say also check that out, Launch St. Louis. We've done some great work. We've been really working for the past 10 years.
Okay.
It's all volunteer run. We're all just really passionate people and wanting to make St. Louis better. So that's certainly a way to kind of start igniting the passion in people is, again, like I said, forming that relationship with these individual nonprofit organizations. Because once you kind of get the foot in the door, you start volunteering regularly, you start going to meetings, you form relationships with the people on the ground. That's really impactful, and that can mean that nonprofits really survive in this new era, because the fact is it's people who make up these organizations and help keep them running and keep them really active in our St. Louis community.
That's awesome. Okay.
Yeah.
I know for you, the obvious example is tonight. Right?
Trying.
I laid that one up on a platter for you, maybe.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
just maybe tell us a little bit more about what's going on tonight.
Yeah, so tonight is Innovate Giving. It's a large event focused around bringing together entrepreneurs, nonprofits, and the government to sort of have a real conversation about all of the problems we have locally and globally and how we can actually solve these. Because I think entrepreneurs think a little bit differently, and sort of nonprofit startups like Givable as well. And I don't want to not include them, because I think there is something really special about the way that they think.
Right.
And being able to come up with these new ideas to solve our problems, that's pretty much what this is about.
Exactly. Just to use an example, I don't know if you guys know of St. Louis Metro Mart, and so they're very new. And so what they've discovered is that it really takes going to where people are in food deserts to bring them fresh produce. And so they literally have a gigantic bus full of fresh produce that they take to food deserts. And that's an innovative solution that a lot of people didn't really think of before. Okay, so we'll put up a grocery store here. Why don't we just take the food directly to the person in need? Wow. And it really takes thinking outside of the box, thinking outside of norms to really attack these problems. And a lot of the time, I kind of like to compare nonprofit versus for-profit a lot. But nonprofits, they're not just dealing with the profit as the bottom line. their bottom line is kind of like the delicacy of the human condition. Like, how do we help improve humanity? How do we help improve our world? Sure. And so that gets really messy. And that's why I love nonprofits, is because like there's a lot of messiness to it that you have to really help strategize and help clean up. And I think there's something really creative and innovative there. It really takes the best innovators to come up with these solutions in nonprofit world. And so as many people as I can push from the for-profit to nonprofit, I'm going to do, because your salary is going to be cut, but you can really attack some of the world's most problematic things.
And I think you touched upon something that I think is a really important thing. When I say innovate, I don't mean technology necessarily.
Right.
And there's of course that you're doing something that's tech related, but I don't mean that.
Right.
I mean thinking differently, thinking about things. Let's not keep doing the same thing.
Right. Totally.
Cool.
Completely agree.
All right, well, I think we're about running out of time. So Eric, Elise, thanks for joining us today.
Thank you.
Had a great conversation. Obviously, if you're listening, you can hear it's a little noisier than normal. That's because we have quite a nice crowd here for this Innovate Giving event. So we do have a couple hours left. I think our panel starts in about 25 minutes or so, around 5:15. Come on down. We'd love to have you here. We have some free drinks, some free food. Well, there's a little bit of food left, but come on down. Obviously, if you can't make it this week, please tune in again next Friday at 4:30. This is the Bourbon Friday Show on every Friday at 4:30 here at T-Rex, hosted through EQ. And last, I just want to thank our producer, videographer, kind of does the whole show, Vanessa Lobo, my partner at Connect Marketing. Thanks for taking care of the video. So thanks for tuning in. Hopefully, we'll see you again next week.